Did you know that the people closest to you, yes, even your family, could be draining your energy and peace in your later years? It's a sad truth, but one you must face. As we grow older, the relationships we keep can either nurture or harm us. Today, we're uncovering 5 types of people that you should avoid to preserve your peace and enjoy your golden years. We deserve peace, wisdom, and comfort in our golden years. After decades of hard work, raising families, and enduring life's challenges, these years should be a time for relaxation and reflection. It's a time when we can finally let go of the pressures of work, responsibilities, and obligations, and instead, focus on what truly matters, our well-being, happiness, and inner peace. However, sometimes, the very people we trust the most, those we love and care about, can unintentionally cause harm. Family members, old friends, and even acquaintances may not realize the emotional toll their actions have on us. It's a heartbreaking reality that many of us face as we grow older. Those who were once sources of love and support can become the ones who drain us the most. They might not even be aware of it, but their constant demands, their selfish behavior, or their inability to offer the same support in return can leave us feeling worn out and emotionally exhausted. We might find ourselves caring for others, giving more than we receive, and slowly losing the peace we so desperately need. In this video, we're going to discuss 5 specific types of people who can harm you emotionally, whether they do it intentionally or unintentionally. Recognizing these behaviors is the first step to preserving your well-being. This is not about cutting people off or abandoning loved ones, it's about understanding what drains your energy and learning how to protect your peace. It's about recognizing those relationships that, although they may have once been positive, are now doing more harm than good. And it's about making the difficult decision to set boundaries where necessary, ensuring that your golden years remain filled with the peace, joy, and serenity that you deserve. If you find value in this video, kindly like, share and subscribe to enable our community grow. 1. The manipulator. Picture this. It's a quiet afternoon. You're sitting back, enjoying a warm cup of tea, letting the day settle around you. The peace is comforting. But then, your phone rings. It's a family member. They need a favor. You're not surprised. It's the same request, over and over. At first, it seems harmless. You help because you care. But as time goes on, you start to notice the pattern. The phone calls don't stop. They keep asking and asking and asking. Small things at first, but then the requests grow, always more than the last. And every time you agree, you do it out of love, out of the goodness of your heart. But somewhere along the way, something shifts. What was once a favor here and there becomes a routine. You're always the one giving, always the one helping, while they never seem to offer anything in return. You start to feel like you're doing it out of obligation, not choice. The calls don't stop, and the weight starts to add up. You give, but you begin to wonder, why are they always asking? And where do you stand in this? That's the manipulator at work. They don't ask because they truly need help. They ask because they know you will say yes. They rely on you without ever considering how it affects you. What starts as small favors turns into a demand on your time, your energy, your peace. Manipulators are skilled at exploiting your kindness. They don't come right out and ask for more, they start small, slowly wearing you down. They know how to use guilt as a weapon. They know exactly how to appeal to your sense of duty, your desire to help, your nurturing instincts. They'll say things like, "You're the only one who can help me," or, "I've helped you before, it's only fair that you help me now." They start to control your actions by tapping into your emotional triggers. The more you help, the more they demand, and the more your own peace is chipped away. Every favor, no matter how small, is another step in their game. They make you feel guilty for saying no, and before long, you don't even recognize yourself. You become someone who is always available for others, but never for yourself. How many times have you found yourself saying yes, even when you didn't want to? How many times have you felt drained, empty, and unappreciated after agreeing to help? This cycle can steal your peace, leaving you exhausted. And what's worse, they don't even notice. They don't realize the toll their constant demands take on you, because they're too focused on their own needs. Their reliance on you becomes more about their convenience than about genuine care. They turn your kindness into something they can take advantage of, and before you know it, you've given away more than you can afford. Here's the key: set boundaries. Compassion doesn't mean enabling toxic behavior. It doesn't mean always saying yes, even when it's taking everything out of you. True compassion is about taking care of yourself first so that you can offer genuine help when it's needed. Setting boundaries is how you protect your peace. It's important to understand that saying no is not selfish. It's necessary. You don't have to explain yourself every time. A simple, "I need to take care of myself right now," or "I can't take this on today, but I can help in other ways," is enough. The manipulator might not like it. They might try to guilt-trip you, and they might accuse you of being selfish. But the truth is, you're not being selfish, you're being wise. You're taking care of your own needs so you can be there for others in a healthy way. By setting these boundaries, you start to reclaim control over your own energy. You stop letting them take more than they give. The people who truly value you will respect these boundaries. They will understand that you can't be there for them all the time, and that sometimes, your own peace has to come first. By learning to say no, you reclaim control of your time, your energy, and your peace. You stop being at the mercy of their demands. The people who truly respect you will understand and will not pressure you to give more than you can. Boundaries are not walls, they are a way to protect what is most precious, your peace. And once you start to set those boundaries, you'll find yourself feeling lighter, more at ease, and more in control. You've earned that peace, and it's yours to protect. 2. The self-absorbed. You're at a family gathering. Everyone is talking, sharing stories, catching up. You're excited. You've been thinking about something you want to share, a memory that makes you smile, an experience you want to relive with the people you care about. But just as you start speaking, someone interrupts. They steer the conversation back to themselves. You try to keep going, to finish what you were saying, but before you know it, the moment you were looking forward to has disappeared, replaced by them talking about their own life. It's frustrating, isn't it? This wasn't how it was supposed to go. You just wanted to share something meaningful with the people around you, but instead, the conversation has become all about them. They're not even listening to you, they're too busy focusing on their own stories. And before long, you start to wonder, is my voice even heard here? That's the self-absorbed person. They are so consumed with their own world, their own thoughts, their own needs, that they forget about the people around them. They don't listen, they just talk. They take up all the space in the room, and before you know it, everyone's attention is on them, leaving you feeling invisible. Self-absorbed individuals can be emotionally draining. They monopolize conversations, leaving little room for anyone else to speak. They're not interested in hearing your stories, your thoughts, or your feelings. To them, the only voice that matters is their own. And over time, this can wear you down. You begin to feel unheard and unseen. You share your thoughts, but they don't even acknowledge them. You try to connect, but they quickly dismiss you, moving on to the next topic that revolves around them. This one-sided dynamic takes a toll. You feel like your experiences don't matter. Your thoughts become secondary to theirs. You begin to feel like you don't even need to share anything because they won't listen anyway. It's emotionally draining to constantly give energy to someone who can't even offer a fraction of that energy back. The problem is, this type of behavior doesn't just happen once. Over time, it becomes a pattern. Every conversation, every interaction, becomes about them. And as time goes on, it starts to feel like your own needs and desires are irrelevant in their presence. To protect your peace, you need to assert yourself. When the conversation starts to become dominated by the self-absorbed person, gently redirect it back to you. Don't let your voice go unheard. A simple, "I'd like to finish what I was sharing," can make all the difference. You deserve to be heard. This doesn't mean you have to shout over them or be confrontational. It simply means reminding them that your voice matters too. You can even say, "This moment is important to me, and I'd like to share it." You're not demanding their attention, you're asserting your own right to be heard. If this behavior continues, it might be time to reconsider how much energy you're investing in this person. You deserve to be around people who value your thoughts, who listen to you, and who engage with you as much as you engage with them. Surround yourself with people who listen to you. Surround yourself with those who give as much as they take, who value your stories, your experiences, and your feelings. You deserve relationships where both voices are heard, not just one. By choosing to spend time with people who respect and appreciate you, you'll find that your emotional energy is replenished, not drained. You're worthy of that balance. 3. The critic. Have you ever had someone close to you constantly point out what you're doing wrong? They criticize your choices under the guise of concern. "You really should try it my way," they say, as though you're incapable of making your own decisions. At first, it might seem like they're just trying to help. Maybe they think they know better, or maybe they genuinely believe their way is the best. It might feel like friendly advice, but the longer this goes on, the more you start to notice a pattern. They're not just offering advice, they're undermining you. Every choice you make, every path you take, is met with judgment. You might feel frustrated. After all, you're the one living your life, making your own decisions. Yet here they are, pointing out flaws or suggesting changes as though your choices aren't good enough. At first, you might listen to their advice, thinking it's coming from a place of love. But as time goes on, you realize it's not really advice, it's criticism. The constant pressure to meet their expectations starts to weigh on you, and their words begin to take root in your mind. It gets harder to trust your own judgment, and you start second-guessing your decisions. You're not just questioning what you're doing, you're questioning who you are. Their words might be cloaked in concern or wrapped in the idea of helping you, but over time, this help starts to feel more like a critique of your very existence. Every decision you make, no matter how big or small, is scrutinized. And at some point, you begin to wonder if you'll ever measure up, if your choices will ever be good enough. You start to doubt yourself, to feel inadequate, and to wonder if maybe, just maybe, they're right. At first, this criticism may seem like helpful advice. Perhaps you think that they're just offering a better way to do things. Maybe you even agree with some of their points, especially when the criticism is framed as concern. It doesn't feel too harsh at first. Maybe you even welcome the feedback, thinking it will help you improve. But what happens when it becomes constant? What happens when their advice isn't just helpful tips, but a continual barrage of suggestions and corrections? Over time, this kind of criticism starts to erode your confidence. You begin to feel like nothing you do is ever quite right. Every time you make a decision, you wonder if it's the wrong one. Every move you make is met with some form of judgment, and that judgment starts to wear on you. You start second-guessing every choice you make, questioning if you really are capable of making the right decisions. What began as advice has now become a constant reminder that, in their eyes, you're never good enough. That's the true danger of criticism. It doesn't just make you doubt your choices in the moment. It starts to chip away at your belief in yourself. You begin to internalize their criticism, thinking that maybe they're right, maybe you don't know what you're doing, maybe you're not as capable as you once thought. Over time, this can cause your self-worth to take a hit. It's not just the specific decisions that are under attack, but your entire confidence in your ability to live your life in the way you see fit. It's draining. Constantly feeling like you're not good enough, that your decisions are flawed, or that you need to change your approach can make you feel emotionally exhausted. What once felt like a normal part of life, making decisions and trusting your judgment, now feels like a battle with yourself and with them. And each time you second-guess yourself, you lose a little more of your peace. Can you feel how exhausting that is? Having to constantly measure up, not to your own standards, but to someone else's. It's like being under a microscope, where everything you do is scrutinized. No matter how much you try, you can never seem to live up to their expectations. And the worst part? Their words begin to chip away at your belief in yourself, making you wonder if you really are capable, or if you're always going to fall short. This constant second-guessing takes a toll. It affects every aspect of your life, even the smallest decisions. The joy that comes from making a decision and moving forward with confidence is replaced by doubt and uncertainty. You don't just question your choices, you question your worth. The emotional weight of always feeling criticized can leave you mentally drained and unsure of who you are. Your once strong belief in your own judgment starts to wane, and every little decision feels like it carries the weight of their opinion. Over time, this starts to affect your mental health. You become anxious about your choices, afraid to make decisions because you fear their judgment. You start to avoid situations where your decisions might be questioned, and you find yourself retreating into yourself, afraid to make a move because of the constant fear of being criticized. It's like walking on eggshells, waiting for the next comment, the next critique. And that constant tension only wears you down, leaving you feeling emotionally drained and mentally exhausted. Here's the thing, you don't have to accept constant criticism. You don't have to internalize everything that someone else says about you or your decisions. The first step is recognizing that you have the power to protect your peace. You don't need to absorb every piece of feedback, especially if it doesn't serve you or your well-being. When faced with criticism, respond with calm confidence. You don't need to fight back or argue. Instead, calmly assert your own perspective. You can say something like, "I appreciate your perspective, but I'm happy with the choices I've made." That's it. You don't need to explain yourself further, and you certainly don't need to feel guilty for standing up for yourself. This is your life, and you are the one living it, not them. By calmly asserting your boundaries and reinforcing that you're confident in your decisions, you take back control of your emotional space. You don't need to accept or internalize criticism that doesn't come from a place of genuine care. If someone is criticizing you, especially when it's constant and unhelpful, you have the right to step back and say, "I don't need this," and move forward with your life. You can also try to redirect the conversation. If they begin criticizing you or your choices, gently steer it away from judgment and toward understanding. Remind them that your decisions are your own, and they don't need to be constantly evaluated. You're not asking for permission to live your life, you're simply explaining that you're confident in your path, and you don't need constant input. The most important thing to remember is this: you are not obligated to internalize criticism that doesn't serve you. Your worth is not defined by someone else's opinion of your choices. You have the right to make decisions that are best for you, even if they don't align with what others expect. Protect your peace by recognizing when criticism is simply a reflection of someone else's insecurities or need for control. Their judgment does not define your ability to make good decisions or live a fulfilling life. Surround yourself with people who celebrate your choices, not people who tear them down. You deserve to be in relationships where your decisions are supported and your confidence is nurtured. You deserve to be around those who respect your autonomy and trust that you're capable of making the best choices for yourself. By setting boundaries and asserting your own confidence, you protect your peace. You can make decisions without fear of judgment, without the constant pressure of being critiqued. This is your life, and you have the right to live it as you see fit. Let go of the need to seek validation from others, and instead, embrace the peace that comes with knowing you are capable and worthy, just as you are. 4. The irresponsible. Picture this. A family member constantly asks for your help. It's never just once, it's over and over. Whether it's emotional support, financial help, or just a shoulder to lean on, they're always turning to you. At first, it seems manageable. You want to help. You don't mind being there for them, especially when they're struggling. They promise that things will get better, that they'll handle things on their own next time. But as time goes on, nothing improves. The promises are empty. The cycle repeats. They keep asking, but they never take responsibility for their actions. It's frustrating, isn't it? You want to help, you really do. But no matter how much you give, they never seem to make progress. They lean on you time and time again, but they never take the steps needed to solve their own problems. It feels like you're constantly picking up the pieces for them, solving their problems without them making any effort to change. The irresponsible person thrives on others solving their problems. They're not looking for long-term solutions, just temporary fixes. They ask for help, but they don't make the necessary changes to ensure they don't need help again. They make promises to do better, but those promises are quickly forgotten. Instead, they return to you, asking for help once more. It's a never-ending cycle of giving, without them ever taking responsibility for their own actions. And that's where the harm begins. They don't change. They don't learn. And eventually, you begin to feel like you're carrying the weight of their choices. The emotional burden starts to take its toll. You feel exhausted from constantly being there for them, from always having to pick up the pieces. You can't keep doing it forever. The emotional impact is huge. You start to feel resentment. It's not because you don't care about them, but because you're stuck in a pattern of giving without receiving. You start to feel like you're being taken advantage of. It's frustrating because, at the end of the day, you can't fix their problems for them. They need to take responsibility for their own life, but they aren't doing that. The best way to handle an irresponsible person is to stop solving their problems for them. It's important to offer support, but not to become the one who always carries the weight. Instead of jumping in to fix everything, offer guidance. Suggest resources they can use or help them explore options, but don't take over. Say something like, "I can't solve this for you, but here are some options you could explore." By doing this, you're helping them to help themselves, which is the best kind of support you can offer. You don't need to rescue them. Compassion doesn't mean carrying someone else's burdens indefinitely. Sometimes, compassion is letting others face the consequences of their actions so they can grow, learn, and make better choices moving forward. You can still be there for them, but you don't need to be their crutch. The responsibility to change is theirs, not yours. You don't have to fix everything. Compassion means letting others face the consequences of their actions. Helping them doesn't mean solving their problems for them, it means helping them develop the skills they need to solve their own problems. Protecting your own peace means knowing when to let go and allow others to take responsibility for their choices. Letting go of the need to rescue is a form of self-care. You'll feel lighter and more at peace when you stop carrying other people's burdens. By setting boundaries with the irresponsible person, you free yourself from the emotional weight they place on you. And most importantly, you give them the opportunity to take responsibility for their own life. You'll find that, when you stop rescuing them, you can focus more on your own well-being and enjoy the peace you deserve. 5. The ungrateful. You spend hours preparing a meal, putting in all the effort to make sure everything is just right. You carefully select the ingredients, you cook with love, and you serve it with a smile. You've put your heart into it, hoping they'll appreciate your effort. But when it's time to receive something in return, you're met with nothing but complaints or even worse, silence. You offer your support to someone during a tough time, listening patiently, offering advice, and being there for them when they need it most. You expect nothing more than a simple "thank you," but when the tables are turned, they don't offer the same courtesy. You're left feeling empty, unappreciated, and frustrated. This is the reality of dealing with an ungrateful person. You give everything you can, but they never acknowledge your efforts. Instead, they take your kindness for granted. They don't recognize the time, energy, or emotional support you've given them. They don't even offer a simple thank you. And it's not just about the small things. It's a pattern, a cycle where your kindness is never truly valued, leaving you feeling drained and hurt. It's like you're giving your all, but in return, you get nothing. No appreciation, no acknowledgement, just silence or complaints. The ungrateful person takes your kindness for granted. When you give, whether it's your time, your energy, or your resources, they don't see it as a gift. They see it as something they're entitled to. They don't feel the need to show gratitude or appreciation because, in their mind, what you're offering is just expected. At first, it's easy to brush it off. Maybe you think, it's just one time. They didn't mean to be rude. But when this happens over and over again, you begin to realize that it's not a mistake, it's a pattern. Their lack of appreciation starts to take its toll. You start to feel like your efforts don't matter, like your kindness is invisible. And the worst part? You start questioning why you keep giving. You want to help, you want to be there for them, but when you're met with indifference or negativity in return, it makes you wonder if it's worth it. Their behavior is harmful because it leaves you feeling undervalued. The emotional energy you put into the relationship doesn't get returned. You give and give, hoping for at least some acknowledgement, but you're left feeling empty. It's like being stuck in a one-sided relationship where you're constantly the giver and never the receiver. Think about how it feels. You've done something for them, something that took time, effort, and thought. You've offered your help, your kindness, and your heart, but in return, you get nothing. It's like giving everything you have, only to be met with nothing in return. The emotional weight of that can be overwhelming. It's draining to constantly give to someone who doesn't appreciate you. Over time, this starts to eat away at your sense of self-worth. You start to wonder if your kindness even matters. It's not just about the lack of gratitude, it's about the emotional impact it has on you. You begin to feel like you're always the one doing the work, always the one caring, but no one ever returns that care. You start to feel taken for granted. And the longer this goes on, the more you begin to lose confidence in your own ability to make decisions, to help, and to give. You start to feel like you're not valued, and that can be a painful realization. This can also lead to resentment. The more you give without receiving anything in return, the more frustrated you become. You may not even realize it at first, but eventually, you start to resent them. You resent that they don't appreciate you, and you resent that you're constantly giving without anything coming back. And that resentment can poison the relationship. It can cause you to withdraw, to stop giving, or to shut down emotionally. You might even start avoiding them, because you no longer want to put in the effort if it's not going to be valued. Here's the thing, it's important to recognize when your efforts are being misused. You don't have to keep giving to someone who doesn't appreciate you. Kindness is a precious gift, and you need to protect it. If someone is constantly taking from you but never giving back, it's time to reassess that relationship. The first step is to set boundaries. You don't have to stop being kind, but you do need to protect your emotional well-being. Redirect your energy toward people who genuinely appreciate you and respect your time, your effort, and your generosity. Don't let the ungrateful person drain you. Your kindness deserves to be appreciated, and it's okay to walk away from relationships where that's not happening. You can also start by being clear about your expectations. When you give something, whether it's your time, your money, or emotional support, let people know that you expect gratitude in return. Don't expect them to read your mind, but make it clear that you're giving out of kindness, not obligation. Sometimes, the ungrateful person might not even realize they're taking advantage of you. By being clear about your boundaries, you teach them how to respect you and your efforts. And when you find yourself giving to people who truly appreciate you, that's when you'll start to feel the difference. Those relationships will feel more fulfilling. They'll give back to you emotionally, and they'll make you feel valued. And that, in turn, will make it easier to continue giving, because you know that your kindness is making a positive impact. Kindness is a precious gift. It's something that should be valued and respected. You shouldn't be giving it away to people who don't appreciate it. Protect your kindness from those who take it for granted. Redirect your energy toward relationships where your effort is acknowledged and reciprocated. Your time and energy are valuable, and you deserve to be surrounded by people who recognize that. Shift your focus to relationships that nourish you. Relationships where kindness is mutual, where gratitude is shown, and where you feel valued. Giving should bring joy, not frustration. You have the right to protect your emotional energy, to stop giving to those who don't appreciate you, and to focus on the people who do. By shifting your focus to those who celebrate you, you'll find that your kindness doesn't feel draining, it feels rewarding. You'll no longer feel like you're being taken for granted. Instead, you'll experience the joy that comes from giving to people who truly understand and appreciate your efforts. And that's when your relationships can truly thrive. In old age, protecting your peace is essential. You've worked hard for the calm and serenity you deserve. The relationships you keep in your life can either support that journey or hinder it. That's why it's so important to recognize when people are draining your energy and your peace. By avoiding manipulators, self-absorbed individuals, critics, the irresponsible, and the ungrateful, you can safeguard your happiness and well-being. By setting boundaries, you create the space you need to protect yourself and your emotional health. Boundaries aren't about pushing people away. They're about making sure you're not constantly giving at the expense of your peace. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It's an act of self-respect. It's your life, your peace, and your happiness that matters. When you protect that, you'll find that your golden years are more fulfilling, peaceful, and joyful. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It's about taking control of your own life and ensuring that you are surrounded by people who respect you, value you, and treat you well. Boundaries are essential for maintaining peace in your relationships, especially as you get older. Without boundaries, you're allowing others to dictate your emotional state, which can be exhausting and harmful to your mental health. Which of these 5 types of people have you encountered in your life? How do you protect your peace? Share your thoughts in the comments section. Let's start a conversation about how we can all live a peaceful, fulfilled life. It's time to stop letting toxic people drain us. Let's create a community where we support each other, where kindness and respect are valued, and where our peace is protected. If this video resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Together, let's build a community of wisdom, compassion, and self-care. We all deserve the peace that comes from healthy relationships, and it's time to focus on creating those relationships in our lives. Protect your peace, set your boundaries, and remember, you're worthy of being treated with respect and love.